Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, real quick before we get started on the show, I'm just going to talk about Treeline Academy. You've heard me say it. I can't even tell you how many times. Mark Livesay is treelineacademy.net. That's treelineacademy.net. Sign up. Use the promo code PC2020. Save yourself $20. Can't say it enough. It's awesome, amazing, most comprehensive e-scouting course out there. Check it out for yourself. Sign up. Use promo code PC2020. And now let's get to the show. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Seth Porter, also known as the Bearded Nomad and Bearded Nomad Podcast. So, Seth, I'm going to go ahead and just let you introduce yourself from there, and we'll get started, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on here, dude. I really appreciate it. I've listened to some of your episodes, and I appreciate your content just as much as I'm sure you appreciate mine. And started off, my name is Seth Porter, aka the Bearded Nomad. I also have a podcast called the Nomad Project, which is all kinds of episodes about deer hunting and other things. And I'm 24 years old, married, live in West Virginia, and I'm a bow hunter. That's about all. That's about all there is to me. And I love God, and I basically grew up here in Southern West Virginia most of my life. I kind of bounced around a little bit as a kid. My dad was in the military, so I moved around a lot. But we ended up finding ourselves back here, and this is where I ended up meeting my wife, and this is probably where we'll be for a while until me and her decide to get up and get on out of here.
So where would you guys head if you did move out?
Dude, we've talked about, I don't know, like 4 different states. I would love right now to just drop everything and move to Wyoming and live out in Wyoming for just for a couple years to see, or a year to see how much I love it, and then definitely tell myself, yeah, I'm never moving. But we've actually seriously discussed Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee. She's also trying to get into med school right now, so everywhere we look, we're having to look at the med school and the requirements and stuff like that to see if it lines up with what we can do. But we've talked about Eastern Tennessee quite a bit, and if we do end up moving, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up there.
Yeah, I like Eastern Tennessee. Basically anywhere where there's mountains, it seems to
That's
draw
true.
me. I think something about the mountains pulls me in. And I
Yeah.
definitely want to relocate somewhere out west, though. I think that's kind of my thing.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
so you're going to be a trophy husband then, huh?
Oh, absolutely. That's why that's in my Instagram bio, is that reason right there. A lot of people have. I know there's certain people that wanted to ask me about it, but Summer noticed it one day and she was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm." I was like, "What do you think?" She just was like, "I hate you." She's like, I told her, I said, "Look, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you 10 years of solid, busting ass for work and taking care of you, and when you become a doctor, it's on." I'm staying at home. You'll have fresh linens, and dinner will be cooked every single day, but I'm hunting, and that's my life. So.
That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of walk me through. Did you hunt your whole life? Did you start when you were a kid? How did it go?
Yeah. So I got into hunting at a very early age, about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. Was when I got my first bow. I took my first animal, which was a giant ram. And I was actually younger than 9 or 10. I think I might have been 8. And I took it with a rifle, and I honestly don't know the entire backstory on that, but that's kind of what set it off for me, hunting with my uncle and seeing my uncles, do the do the bow hunting thing. And so as I grew up, that's all I wanted to do. But moving around with my dad, or not just my dad, but my family, it was kind of like I just didn't. I didn't really have time to hunt, especially with other things kind of taking precedent. And so, I got back into it in middle school a little bit, and then my 8th grade year in middle school, I was like fully into football. So football and then lacrosse in high school took a lot of my time, and also girls. And so that took a lot of my time. And then I was like, man, I really want a bow. I really want a bow. My junior going into my senior year, and my dad got me one, and I didn't get to pick it up until after my senior year. I kind of realized that me playing college sports wasn't going to happen. So I was like, I'm going to go pick my bow up. Like, I got all this time. And so I was in college, and me and my dad had this very tiny piece. Very tiny, maybe, I don't even know how big it was, but to hunt, and deer were moving through there all the time. And my first, I think, 2 weeks there, I missed 4 deer. And this was like I don't even know what I was thinking, but like I didn't have a rangefinder, and I was missing these deer at like 15 yards, and I don't even know how I was missing them, but missed 4 deer. And then all of a sudden, like, it just, something clicked, and I was like practicing more, and I ended up killing like 100. I think he was 140 inch 12 point that year. On November 16th, and my best friend was 50 yards away, sitting in the grass, like, watched the whole thing go down. And it was insane. It was crazy. But that kind of just got it sparked, and I was like 17 or 18 then, and that kind of sparked it back up for me. And ever since then, I haven't laid down my bow. It's been basically balls to the wall, and I'm just, which now I'm still learning a lot, but I know so much more now than I did then. And that's kind of how my hunting journey was. I did a lot of other stuff being younger, but not, like, I didn't really get really serious into bow hunting until I was about 17, 18 years old.
That's pretty cool. I think I was like 16 and didn't know how good of a piece of property I had it, and then kind of just reflecting back on it, it's like, man, if I would have only like sought out a mentor or picked up a book and actually learned some things. But what 16-year-old kid's going to want to pick up a book, and it's just like, oh my gosh, the mistakes I made. I had it so great. And now that opportunity's long since passed, and here I am hunting public dirt and trying to maybe capitalize on some big ones. But so
I hear you.
So what kind of, are you always a compound kind of guy, or you ever do any traditional?
As of now, I'm just I got my Matthews Triax, and I'm not dropping it anytime soon. But I do see myself headed that way eventually. Like, on a serious note, I really do, just because I love bow hunting so much. And I think the reason why, one of the big reasons why, is because the challenge it brings to me. And I know eventually I'm going to feel like, I'm going to take enough deer with my compound that I'm just going to be like, okay, the next step is to go get a long bow and start with that.
Right. That's like, I think, did Josh Profit pick up a compound bow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. That's when I saw that, and I was like, what are you doing? But I think a big reason why he did was because he is, he probably wanted to anyway, but he was, I think he started, like, he entered that Quest Hunt hunting competition or something with a buddy. I don't know how that works, but it was some kind of buck size thing. And so I think that's probably a big reason why he did that.
So kind of bringing him up, it made me think of it as, because I saw you've been hunting down in Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
What's the deal with that? Like, are you just going down because their season started before yours, or what?
So last year was my first year going out of state and hunting. and I did Ohio, and I live in this part of West Virginia where I can just cross a bridge and I'm over in Ohio, or I can cross another one and I'm over in Kentucky. I'm like really close to both. So I was driving to Ohio every single day, 45 minute drive to go hunt last year, and got my butt handed to me. And so this year I was like, okay, I'm gonna hunt Kentucky, um, and that was the challenge, or the state that I picked to hunt out of state. I've made it a thing that I'm gonna try to hunt out of state, at least one state out of state each year, along with my home state, West Virginia. Um, I don't know. Last year I got my butt absolutely handed to me in Ohio, and so I'm after redemption this year to kill my first out of state deer, and also tag out in West Virginia.
So, I mean, is it pretty easy to get tags? It's not like Iowa, where you got to like put in and
Yeah,
wait
yeah.
maybe 2 years
Here,
or put in
yeah,
points or anything.
yeah, yeah. A lot of stuff here, like a lot of stuff East Coast, is all OTC. Like everything's over the counter, so you don't have to put in points or anything like that.
Is Kentucky over
Now,
the
in like,
counter?
yeah, Kentucky is. Kentucky's over the counter. They have elk that's a point system.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like winning the
yeah,
lottery, though. I mean, like the
yeah, it
literal
is.
lottery to try and get
It
that.
is.
It's a cheap tag if
It
you
is.
draw it, but my
Yeah.
goodness, trying to get it.
Um, that they also have over the counter elk tags, but it's the only places you can hunt with that tag is like what they call like they have two zones. It's elk zone and then a non-elk zone. And basically the elk zone is like all controlled, like lottery based tags, and then the non-elk zone you can still hunt elk there, but it's not controlled, so you can just get the tag and go.
Now, most of that's like private land or something, right? It's where it's like,
I have,
um,
to be honest with you, I have no idea.
I think I looked into it, and I'm not 100%, but I think like the non-controlled non-elk zone is because what's
Yeah,
happening is like the elk are expanding outside of the projected area of where they
yeah,
figured they would establish a herd, and
yeah,
so it's actually getting into like agriculture and stuff. So you get permission from a farmer or lease it from them or whatever, and then you can
yeah,
hunt the elk that are getting into the agriculture and possibly like destroying crops and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
that's pretty cool. But I think, as
The
far as
thing
I
is,
know, it's hard to find a spot to do it because I think a lot of outfitters
it
have at least.
yeah, that's a big thing that's happening over there in Kentucky right now, right over across the bridge. Is there's that in Ohio. There's a lot of outfitters like either forming or moving in and like just buying up property, um, which to each their own. But it I think it can get a little out of hand, but that's also because I don't hunt outfitters. So
Yeah, I don't really hunt with an outfitter either. So, but so let's kind of talk about like what you did to get ready for your season before you started this year. Like, what was your big
yeah,
things that you were doing, and then what were you doing as far as when you're looking for your out of state hunt? What were you kind of doing?
yeah. So first thing, I'll kind of start with this. I like to kind of give a good picture of everything that I do. In 2018, I killed, let's see, one, two, three. I killed 4 deer, 4 or 5 deer, and I had a great year. I hunted only West Virginia that year. I killed a really good buck, another smaller 2.5-year-old buck, and then a couple does. And I just had a great year. Like I felt my body felt good. I don't know if I want to say that I put myself in good positions to kill deer, but that was because that year I was starting to do the whole like mobile hunting thing, and like so I kind of like I don't know what I did that year that just put me in positions to kill deer, but I did. So, and then 2019, my health wasn't bad, but it was slowly starting to wear on me. And I was running on like 2 to 3 hours of sleep at night because working 2:30 to 11 o'clock Monday through Friday, and then every morning I would go and hunt. So I was getting maybe, 3, if I was lucky, 4 hours of sleep a night. Wake up, go hunt, come back, eat, get dressed, go to work. And I was running off of energy drinks and granola bars, and it just wasn't working. And so this year, coming into this year, hunting 2 different states like consistently. First thing I was wanting to do was really focus on my health. Dealing with type 1 diabetes, like it's so hard for me to consistently keep muscle on. And so, I do okay, but I could do a lot better. But right now, getting ready, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in the gym throughout the season, and I'm going to pick a weight to stay at during the season. And if I catch myself dropping below that, I'm going to, back off and focus and make sure I'm staying ready. And I have been. Kentucky started September 5th. And I set the weight for myself to be between 169 and 172, and I've stayed right at 170, 169, 169, 170 the whole time, and made sure I was eating and made sure I was getting better sleep. Haven't killed anything yet, but I feel good in my body, and that's obviously a big important thing because last year I wore my body out and I was just getting lazy and reckless and careless, and definitely didn't kill anything over in Ohio. So another big thing for me was to just scout twice as much as I was going to hunt out of season and in season. And so my out of season scouting was very, very productive. I got 2 targets right now that I'm waiting to make a move on here in West Virginia. So right now it's not the right time. So I'm kind of just bouncing around other places, hoping to catch a doe or, maybe shoot another nice buck elsewhere. But kind of just really, man, just focusing on my health and then really becoming a student of the deer. And I know that sounds kind of goofy, but just reading what the deer are doing and why they're doing it, and find, reading sign a lot better. And when I say reading sign, I don't just mean sit there and wonder why it's there. It's just literally go in, find where the deer are at, find why they're traveling from point A to point B, and then when season comes, do the same exact thing in season, because that's what matters is seeing what they're doing during the season, because that's when you can kill them. And find out what they're doing from point A to point B, cut them off, or meet them at point A or point B. And that was my 2 biggest things right there, was making sure my body felt good for me to be able to cognitively function and find the deer, and just be super aggressive and get in, find what they're doing, and kill and get out.
So when you're talking about scouting and you're saying in season and out of season, are you talking boots on the ground exclusively? Are you talking e-scouting, like sitting at a computer, studying, looking for transitions and different little benches, slopes, little draws to find them in?
Yeah. I do like e-scouting a lot. I really do. And I've actually kind of gotten a little bit better. No one can look at a map and go, yep, that's going to be where the deer are. Because, the deer are going to decide where they're going to be. You know what I mean? Anybody, and even, guys who I look up to have said, anybody who looks at a map and goes, yep, that's where that buck's bedded, and they're like, that's almost impossible, because the buck's going to bed wherever the buck's going to want to bed, But a lot of my stuff is a boots on the ground. But I do, once I find a good spot, I do mark it on the map, and I do try to start putting puzzle pieces together on, what I find. But I don't think there's anything as good as being boots on the ground. I really don't.
So, so are you looking, when you're hunting out of state, are you hunting giant pieces of public parcels, or what are you hunting?
I hunted, so as of now, I've hunted 2 pretty big pieces of public in Kentucky. One was a couple hours away, and the other one is within a good driving distance. I mean, it's not far. Uh, the thing is though is that like the public that's within driving distance is very, it's canoe access. You know, there's some pieces or some parts I can get, you know, just by driving or walking in, but it's a lot of water access. Another thing is, you know, I love hunting public land, and I'm like, you know, I made a post the other night, and I grind my teeth on public land just because, you know, I believe in everything that a public land is, and that, you know, we live in a country that provides amazing amazing opportunities for public land and being able to access it. But like, I decided like I was going to hunt everything I can get my hands on. Basically, if it was offered to me, I was going to take it. You know, public, private, you know, a backyard that's got a 170 walking through the edge of it, you know. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, I get it. No, without a doubt.
And the thing is that like, it's not because somebody tried to say that it was because I was having too much of a hard time on public, and that was not it at all. I love that challenge, and I have a chip on my shoulder, especially with people around here hunting public and stuff. But the thing is that I'm a killer first. Like, I'm a hunter first, and in my mindset, it's like I don't care where I get to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously exceptions to that. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent.
You're on a bone quest. I get it.
yeah. Like,
you're on a bone quest.
Exceptions. Yeah, and you know, you're not going to catch me on an outfitter, and you're not going to catch me paying to hunt somewhere ever. You know, but I'm a killer, and I want to kill deer. You know, if I find a buck on public and I want to kill, that's where I'm going to kill it. That's where my two targets are right now, is on public land. And, you know, I plan on having at least one of them, if not both of them, on the ground. But sorry for the tangent, back to where we were. Your question was the sizes of public. Both of them were pretty big pieces. I can't really honestly, there's not really any small parcels near me. Or even within a couple hour driving distance, to be honest with you. All the spots that I checked out or e-scouted or had boots on the ground have been well over thousands of acres.
No, that's pretty cool. So you kind of mentioned something earlier. I want to ask you your definition and how you define it, but you said mobile hunter. And so some people might be listening, they might not understand that, and they see it or they hear it a lot, you know, and so, like, what's your definition of mobile hunting?
My definition of mobile hunting is being able to adapt and move to where the deer are, and to not completely write off a spot just because the wind's not the way it should be for a permanent stand. You know what I mean? Like, if you got to be at point, you know, B, you know, but point B doesn't have the right wind, you know, it's nothing to take a stand and move it 20 yards to the left or right, or, you know, 70, 80 yards down the trail, to use that wind to your advantage to kill that deer. You know what I mean? If that deer, I think every deer is killable. But I think sometimes, you got to be a little bit more, you got to have the ability to move more, the ability to adapt.
Right.
You know, you're not just going to write off, oh, I can't kill that deer because the wind's not good. Well, adapt to the wind and be mobile and move down the trail, or, you know, get higher in the tree, or whatever your thing is. That's my definition of mobile. Is, you know, I could give you a really simple, basic answer of, you know, no permanent stands.
Right.
Well, great, but really, it's mobile hunting is always, and obviously the ability just to adapt to your surroundings and being able to adapt and overcome and get it done anyway.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my thoughts on it too. I just wanted to hear your definition, and then
Yeah,
That way, other people that are listening that may hear that term,
for sure.
not knowing it. Um,
Yeah.
so, what kind of things are you specifically honing in on when when you're looking for deer? I mean, are you taking a bunch of puzzle pieces, or are you like, so this time of year, mast crops are just starting to drop, stuff like that,
Yeah.
or are you kind of focusing on fields that still have some green in them? What are you doing?
Depending on how early it is, I can be honest with you. There's a piece over in Kentucky right now that it's planted in beans and corn, and I asked back in the second week of September for permission. I've yet to hear anything. Now, I don't think that those beans are very yellow now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now I don't have the oomph to go over there and really want permission. It's a great piece, but um, the big thing is I think honestly, I think a lot of people don't look at this, but when the food sources are changing, you know what I mean? So like early season, like early September in Kentucky, everybody's talking about beans. The reason why is because those bucks love those beans, especially when they're green. You know what I mean? Like it's not, they're still, they got some, moisture in them. They're not dry, and so that's a big thing is food. The deer are slaves to their stomach. So and I know people probably heard that 100 times, but I used to kind of overlook that statement, but it's very true. The deer's got to eat, So I like to hit whatever food source. If I didn't like find a specific bed or like find a rub line or a scrape line, and I'm still kind of like scouting and not really figuring stuff out, I will find the first. I will try my best. I don't always do it, but I try my best to find that first oak tree that's dropping acorns. Usually that first massive oak tree that's dropping acorns is usually going to be on fire. It's almost like it's. I saw something the other day that they said they compared it to hunting a corn pile in the middle of a drought. But but I really do try to key on the sources. But I try to. This is another thing that's where I feel like it's oversaid. But the food sources that's closest to bedding. Like if you're scouting and you find a rub line, you follow it back to a bed, and you see tracks, and then you see an oak tree that's within 100 yards or 150 yards. A trail in between those two, or hunting that acorn flat is or the oak flat is probably going to be a pretty decent spot to be. Given that the wind's in your favor, or the wind is you're using the wind in your favor. To get on that deer. I really like finding, like you said, the mass crop and the food sources. That's a big thing for me. Especially like traveling to Kentucky and different stuff like that. Like I just don't have the time or the resources to kind of just play it safe. If I'm on fresh sign or fresh, like fresh acorns that are falling, I'm on it. Like I'm in there, I'm getting in there quick, and I'm not going to waste any time just because I have very limited time to do what I can do, and very limited resources. So I try to be as pretty aggressive on the acorns and stuff like that, or persimmon trees.
Yeah,
Those are always on fire.
I've noticed too. I mean, just on public ground in general, if you find fresh sign and it's a big deer, you better just hunt them. You better just hunt it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, somebody else will, and you're going to lose that opportunity. So that's one thing I've definitely learned.
Yeah, absolutely. My mistake last year was thinking that no one else knew or no one else would find that sign. Yeah, that was a very dumb. I don't know what I was thinking in my head at all, but that was a very, very dumb thought. That sign, but the thing is, I mean, that deer didn't die, but the thing is that sign got old very quick, and I really think that deer I don't think it moved like counties, but I think it moved a couple hundred yards away because of the pressure that the other person had put on that spot.
That sounds exactly like a scenario that I had. I found a real nice buck and had a camera and everything, and I was like, oh, all right, perfect. Yeah, opener, nobody's hunting there. Drove by it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait till it cools off a little bit. It's going to be perfect. That was the dumbest thing I ever did. I probably should have just went in there and hunted it and would have had something. And then pretty soon other people discovered it. And next thing you knew, that parking lot was full and there'd be 5 people in one little area. That buck was long gone. So, yeah. But so you talked about water access. That is kind of one of my newfound favorite things and favorite ways to access hunting property.
Yes.
So
it's awesome.
How do you go about it?
Man, so I've only accessed with water. I've done it more times this year than I've ever done it, but I did it once last year on a spot and it didn't pan out. But this year I don't worry about anything else but just getting to that spot and being able, once I'd be able to, pull the boat up and tie it off, from there, being able to get to a spot that the wind stays in my favor for most of the time. This year, me and my wife, she went with me hunting, and I never had been to the spot before, but I knew the way we were going to get there was canoe. We threw it in, and we paddled probably, I don't even know how far. I'll say probably 1,200 yards. And when we got off, I noticed immediately that the wind was coming, like we were standing at the bottom of a hill, and I noticed immediately that the wind was coming off that hill, and innately it was like, okay, I need to find a bench or a trail that's, on this side hill. Like that's what I need to find. So, that's just kind of something. I'll tell a little bit more about that, but I can't keep my thoughts together if I don't stay on topic. I have trouble with that. My wife tells me all the time. But anyway, basically how we do it, dude, is honestly we just take the canoe, strap it to the truck, take it, carry the water, throw our stuff in, and then get in, and just paddle to where we want to go. I do take, and the big reason for water access is because somebody much wiser than me and a lot better hunter than I am told me that, if you use the same access as everyone else, you're going to have the same success as everyone else.
Makes sense, right?
And so, yeah. And he has already tagged out on a buck and a doe this year and earned another buck tag. So he's an animal. Todd, if you listen to this, you're a stud. But yeah, so that was a big reason why I started doing the access more this year with the canoe, because I took that to heart, and I took, where the wind was blowing, not just at that immediate time, but where it was going to end up blowing, and I took that into account with my access and my exit, depending on my exit, depending on if there was a big buck in the area, but mostly just my entrance. If it's my first time in there or my second time in there, I don't want, my ground set to be blown down, another 30, 40 yards. And the deer, I might have snuck past the deer, but then they walk up and they smell the ground. I'm like, oh, okay, So I took that into a big account, and that was kind of just the big thing was, I don't want to use the same access as everyone else, and I don't want, I want to have more success. So that was the big reason why I started doing that water access.
So when you're doing the water access, are you like, you're not paddling very far then? I mean, like you said like 1,200 yards. You're not going in like a couple miles deep or anything crazy.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I decided on, if I needed to one day, or if I would do it. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, I'll do it. Like, I'll do whatever I got to find the deer. You know what I mean? But as of yet, I have not. I haven't paddled that far.
So 2 years ago, I tried that. I think I posted a video on Instagram maybe, and so I didn't have a canoe at the time. I didn't have a boat at the time. All I had was my kayak, and my buddy had his kayak over at another buddy's house, and I went over and grabbed. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead and grab it." So I used his kayak and put all my gear in it, and I towed his kayak behind mine, and I paddled in.
Oh man!
And this is on a river that's moving pretty quick at a good clip. And I'm like, man, this is moving kind of fast. I don't know if this is a good idea. And I said, hell with it. I'm going to do it. Yeah. So I did it. And one of like the backflows that I went up, it ended up, it was frozen over and I couldn't even get through it.
Oh,
so I was like, oh boy. So I had to backpedal back because like the way the backflow was going, the water was flowing, and it actually pushed me up like onto the ice.
Oh God!
So I had to push myself off the ice, drag the other kayak back. I paddled out of there, and instead of like at that point turning around, I went like another mile downstream.
Oh my goodness!
And I pulled in on where I was like scouting it on the maps, and I'd never gone like you. It would take you forever to get back there, and it was like only 5 miles or maybe 6 miles from the parking lot, but there was water access that was like 1 mile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I can do this. So I did it, and I got in there, and it was primetime rut. As soon as I got pulled up into the shore and I got out and stepped out, I heard something. And 2 does come running right past me up on the creek, on the bank, and I was like, oh man, okay. So I hurry up, grab my bow, get my stuff, and I kind of just pop up there and I look, there's a spike. And I grabbed one of the Montana decoys, and I'm rattling around, fumbling around, making noise, and I'm like, oh God, whatever's up there scared away. And I get up over there, and I'm standing there, and it's a little, like a little forky. And he's staring at me. And so I hold up that decoy, and he puts his head down, and he starts stomping his front hoof. And I'm like, I wonder if he's going to come at me. So I start walking towards him, and he kind of backs up a little bit, stands up straighter, and puffs out his chest.
Oh, man, he's ready to go.
He snorts at me. And I'm like, holy crap. So finally he takes off. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm not going to shoot him, but what if this is a bigger deer? How am I going to hold this decoy so I don't drop it and he just runs away, and draw back my bow and shoot it all at the same time? And then at the same time I'm like, I want to try and film this. So
dude, that'd be crazy.
Trying to like film it with my cell phone, and it did not work out well. But so then I was like, okay man, I gotta hurry up and get set up. So I like hurry up and go back, grab my stand, throw it up in a tree like maybe 30 yards from where I was standing, where all this action happened. And the wind's still in my favor the whole time. It was awesome. Yeah. And I look off to my distance, and I see a big buck. I don't know size exactly, and I'm not as good as thinking, because I actually saw one that I thought was like 160, 170, and turned out to be somebody else shot it, and it was like 200 plus.
Oh, God.
But anyway, so I'm not that good at guessing, but I would say it was probably a 150, 60, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I see him, and he's like way off further on, and I'm like, man, I could almost get down and do that. And I'm like, no, wait a minute, those does are over here. Maybe he'll come over to the does. And I watched him, and he just bedded down in like a staging area that was probably like, I don't know, 100 yards away from me. And all I could see is butt and tips of tines moving around, and it stayed there, and he stayed there until it was dark. And I don't know if it was because he saw me, but that was like the first time I ever kayaked in somewhere. And I was like, this is amazing. And it like had me hooked. And then, so I'm like, okay, it's dark now. I got all my crap loaded up, and I start paddling, and it's not too bad in the backflow. And then I get out onto the main river, and I'm paddling, and I'm paddling, and I'm paddling, and I'm paddling. My arms feel like they're going to fall out, and I'm barely making it anywhere. And I don't even think I made it a quarter mile, and I was paddling for about an hour. And finally a boat comes by.
Oh, yes.
And he comes by, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, I went deer hunting. And he goes, and I'm like, you give me a lift, dude? And he's like, yeah, sure. Well, he tried pulling me, and it didn't work because I had too much drag
Yeah.
behind me with the other thing. So we ended up towing the one kayak, and we threw my other kayak in his boat, and he gave me a ride back to the launch. And he was
Oh
just
yeah.
laughing and laughing, and he goes,
Yeah.
"What are you thinking?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm thinking big deer." And he goes,
Yeah.
"Man," he goes, "I probably wouldn't have given you a ride if you had a big buck on there." Because he goes, "Because that is insane." So he ended up like snapping a picture of me and sent it to all his buddies, and he's like, "Look at the balls on this dude."
Oh my God.
But
That's hilarious.
it was terrible. And I started thinking in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to just pull over and cling onto somebody's dock and like get out and walk back to the launch
No
or
doubt.
something. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And then so I came home and I told my wife, I'm like, well, pretty much almost. She's like, how did it go? How did the whole kayak thing go? And I was like, it was stupid. And she goes, I told you that before you left.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good for that. I told you that before you left.
But
Listen,
yeah, so then I went out and I ended up getting a boat for that season, and then I was like,
oh yeah.
and the boat just wasn't what exactly I needed, and then I ended up, now I got a canoe. That's a big canoe, and I got a little outboard for it, and I keep the outboard on a like a cargo carrier on the back of my truck. That way I don't get any gas or anything on my hunting gear, and I roll with that, and that's pretty sweet.
I think that's what's going to happen for me next is having a canoe with a little trolling motor on the back, just because it's very versatile and useful.
Absolutely.
But you said you got a wife. You're married.
Yep.
Okay, so if you ever want to figure out if you and your wife are really good at communicating, put both of you in a canoe with $3,000 worth of gear and see if you guys can communicate with each other, paddling to the hunting spot. Yeah, me and my wife, we weren't laughing in the moment, but after when we got out, we started laughing. They were like, me and her are gonna become marriage counselors, and that's gonna be the beginning and ending test to see if your communication skills got better or not.
Man, I tell you what, I don't even think, first of all, that she'd paddle. She'd be like, what do I have to paddle for?
Yeah,
why,
you're back here.
Yeah, you're here. Yeah. So I don't know if I have to worry about trying to communicate that with her, but trust me, launching a boat with your wife is about the same ordeal. So yeah.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah. So what's your big plans for this season then? You got anything going on? I mean, other than you got your 2 targets?
Yeah. Realistically, I think that I'll catch up with one of those deer. If God wills it, I'll catch up with both of them. if I just go crazy and have a crazy season. But yeah, right now it's just I took a break from Kentucky and kind of just focused on West Virginia. I really love hunting here. Like I loved hunting Ohio and I really like hunting Kentucky, but hunting my home state, it's just something, I don't know, it's special to me. So I really love hunting here, and I'm headed to Tennessee to hunt with a group of guys that are awesome group of guys, between October 22nd through the 26th on a big piece of public up there. And that's going to be a blast. It's like pre-rut, so big bucks should be moving around. So, but other than that, yeah, that's it. Just I have, the way I see it right now is Tennessee is it's going to be cool, but I got 3 tags in West Virginia, 2 buck tags and a doe tag, and then I have 4 tags in Kentucky. That's how many deer you can kill. You can kill 1 buck and 3 does. And my goal for the season is to fill all 7 tags.
That's a good goal, man. That's that's a hefty goal, but hopefully you do it, man. That's my wife told me, she said, no more screwing around this year. We've started to realize that with our kids getting older, the consumption of meat in this house is pretty crazy, and so normally we get a half of beef, and that doesn't even hardly last us till the next year anymore. So she said, No more screwing around and just trying to chase a big deer like you did last year and only taking one doe. She's like, you need to fill some tags. I don't care what they are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't chase big deer, but you better fill some tags before you start passing on a bunch of deer. So
That's right. That's right.
So that's my goal this year is I got to lay some stuff down pretty early. So then by the time the rut comes along.
I missed a doe in Kentucky at 25 yards, and my wife's sitting there filming me. I shot right over her back, and my wife's like laughing at me, like giving me crap, and I just start laughing. And then, so I missed that opportunity. And then last night, I hunted in a great spot. I've mentioned my uncles. I grew up hunting with my uncles. Me and my uncle that I hunt with frequently, we are very different hunters. I'm very aggressive, balls to the wall, get in there, kill, get out. And he's very, he can be aggressive, but he's just way more conservative about it. He's a fringe hunter. He'll just keep like cutting the fringes and getting closer as time goes on. Me, I'm like straight in there, straight out kind of the guy. But last night he was like, hey, like, in this spot, please don't kill any does. He's like, I really think it's going to be a good spot for a buck, so don't blow the spot out. And in my head, I'm like, that's not going to blow the spot out. Like, like that doesn't work like that. But I respected his wishes. I didn't want to, be a jerk. So I had 5 does come through last night. Almost all of them were in shooting range, and I was heartbroken because I was like, God, I was like, I told you earlier, like I have killer instinct. Like it took it's taken up to 3 years for me to start going, okay, if it's not 130, I don't want to shoot it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm still having hard time with that. Like I told myself, my West Virginia tags, I want them to be at least 130. If they're pushing 130, like 120, something like 125 or bigger, that's fine. But I just want to kill the mature buck, the older deer and the ones that have a little bit bigger racks. And man, I was just like, I could kill any of these does right now. I had one walk at 5 yards, and I'm fully okay with taking a frontal shot to her chest. And I thought it was I grabbed my bow and put the camera on this deer because I didn't know what it was until she got too close. And I was like, man, I could have had you dead to right, and I'm like heartbroken. And I was like texting my uncle. I'm like, look, I respected your wishes, but I had 3 does done last night. I could have filled all tags. It could have been done. But yeah, I mean, I'm upset that I don't have a deer on the ground already, but I'm heading out in the morning to a spot. Hopefully, whatever I see in the morning. If it's a doe, it's definitely getting shot. If it's a buck, it'll depend. But
my season hasn't opened yet, so I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna.
You're in Iowa, right?
Illinois, yeah.
Illinois.
So yep,
okay.
October.
I knew it was an I.
Yep, October 1st. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm gonna make it out on the opener, but I'm gonna try. So we'll see. But man, it's been good.
Let me ask you.
Yep, go ahead.
No, you first.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead and ask me.
Okay, so you said earlier about we were talking about thinking that nobody was going to find the sign, and you said you were going to wait till it cools off.
Mm-hmm.
So are you the kind of person that would rather wait for cooler weather, or would you just be like, screw it, here it is, I'm going after it?
Now or then? Because then it was a lot different. That was my first time hunting public ground. So I was kind of used to the whole private mentality that nobody else was going to molest it or disturb it or do anything or push those deer out. And I really didn't understand the dynamic of, real pressure. So, I was that person, but my tune quickly changed. And then like the more you listen to guys like Tony Peterson that, hunts a lot of public dirt and kills a lot of mature deer, his whole thing is don't be a fair weather hunter. Don't be one of those guys that go, oh man, cold front, but there's going to be sleet or ice or, I don't want to hunt that. Get out there and hunt it. Do it. The worst, the crappiest, hottest, nastiest days, get out there because nobody else is going to do it,
Yeah,
especially during
that's
football
so
season.
true. Oh yes, oh yes.
So yeah,
No, I do. I completely agree with that, 100%.
yeah. So that's kind of my new philosophy, and it seems to work a lot better. The other thing is I've noticed there's still a lot of guys that are, uh, they're the kind of guy that'll go out, they'll get there, they'll get right out, half hour before dark or before daybreak, and an hour and a half, 2 hours into daylight, they're already getting down and leaving.
Oh yeah, it's time to go to Waffle House. You didn't know that?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, man, get out there, spend as much time as you can out there until you can't possibly sit anymore. Then maybe get up and move, or go to your car, get yourself a sandwich, go to the bathroom, and get back out there, man. That's my theory this year.
I got a couple like takes on that. It's one, not everybody's as serious as bow hunter as me, so I had to tone it down when talking to a lot of people, because some people just aren't about it. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm like, I'll spend every freaking second I got out there, But I also told myself, no Waffle House after you hunt unless you kill something. So, but the big thing was like, if you go sit for a morning, unless you're like pressing to go and you got to be somewhere, sit like, not even the rut. Say you're hunting early season, sit till 9:30, 10 o'clock. Get out and scout. That was my biggest thing, is I did not scout. I used to not scout my way out or scout at all. It very much during the season, and I was like, I started, listening to certain people and reading up on things. I was like, okay, this one, and it really changed a lot of stuff for me. Is like, I would go and I'd sit, I'd make sure I had enough water and snacks, sat my sit. If I, no luck or whatever, I would get down. If I didn't have anywhere to be, I'm scouting everywhere. I'm everywhere that's in the surrounding area, or scouting my way back to the truck. And I'm finding the tracks and the rubs and the scrapes, because that's, anything to get me closer, or for a better option to sit in that evening. That's what I'm going to do. And obviously that's, that kind of what helped me, helped me kill a couple of deer last year and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's one thing that I've kind of picked up on too. I definitely scout my way out and then think about it as far as, hey, if I come out for an hour and I jump back in those woods, would that be a good spot?
Yeah.
That's definitely something I've taken advantage of. Or actually last year, because I got 3 kids too, so I'm pretty limited when it comes to when I get my time to go out, I'm going out and I'm going to try and make it count. And my problem is I've never been able. Some reason I can't do it, and I try is to sit all day in the same spot if I know it's going to be a hot spot. But I'm working on it, and I'm trying to find ways to improve little things. But I've scouted my way out and gone, man, I need to set up here. I need to set up here now. And I've seen sign and activity, but it's never been quite, what exactly I've been looking for. So, but I'm getting better at figuring it out. And hopefully this year it pays off. I've got a few spots that I put in the work early before COVID shut all the public ground down here in Illinois. I put in the work early and did some scouting, and then late season scouting, and then I did a little bit more not that long ago. So hopefully it all pays off and pans out, and I can make it happen.
I've grown to really not like the rut at all.
Unpredictable.
Just because where I'm, and I'm, well, like I said, I'm super aggressive. So I'm, in there. If I find a bed, or if I find tracks, cut the tracks back to a bed or to a food source. Like when I go in and sit, past few weeks I haven't, but like when I go in, if I scout and I'm feeling confident that I'm going to kill a deer, like I'm going in. And I'm going in with the mentality that something's probably going to get shot. You know what I mean? And I probably don't have enough deer on the wall or enough deer under my belt to say that I have that mentality. But I'm super competitive and I keep a chip on my shoulder. So I'm like, I say that stuff and I say it with confidence. But like when it comes to the rut, last year I almost didn't know what to do with myself because like I shot a deer October 10th here in West Virginia, and it was because I found tracks, I cut him back to a bed, I bumped the deer, came back 4 days later, and I killed him. Where I bumped him, like I killed him. I think he was 30 yards from his bed, and he was browsing. I could see his bed, and I could see where I killed him, from the tree I was in. So like for me, like that's the kind of hunting that I like is finding them, getting in there, on a good wind that he thought was in his favor, and I used it to my advantage and I smoked him. And so and that's another thing. Like if I do make it to the rut and if I don't have deer on the ground, I want to be able to be like, okay, go here. It's a good pinch. It's a good funnel. Like, where the does are,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and that kind of thing. And I think when it came time for the rut in Ohio, I started hunting over there like November 7th, I believe. It was a weird year over there. I don't know. It was just weird. I didn't see as many deer as I thought I should have. But I also was getting more and more careless by the day because I was also getting more and more tired, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big thing for me is like if I do end up making it to the rut, and I pray that I don't, just because I really like getting in there and getting it done. I like that mentality of go getting it, that I will become better and really use the land and the does to my advantage to get on a good deer.
Oh, absolutely. I still think the rut is a very magical time though, because it's just so unexpected.
Absolutely.
You never know really what's going to happen. And
Absolutely.
I got a buddy who there's some skill involved there, but he gets super lucky during the rut, like just random bucks that he's never even seen come in. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But man, It's been good talking to you. And before we go, I'd like to ask you if you could tell people where they can find you and where they can listen to you.
Absolutely. So right now I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is __bearded__nomad. And then from there, you can basically find all my other stuff. You can also find my podcast, The Nomad Project, on Spotify and iTunes. And then Facebook, it's just Seth Porter. And that's where you guys can find me.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on and chatting with me about deer season. It's
absolutely
making me get even more excited for my season to get kicked off here. I'm sick of looking at everybody else posting pictures while I'm still sitting waiting. So
I get it. I get it completely.
So I appreciate you coming on and talking to me, man. You have a good night.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.